I've had access to classified files for 12 years. Level 5 clearance. Eyes-only documents that most government officials will never see. But 3 days ago, I found files that Dr. Chen had hidden in her personal safe. Files that weren't supposed to exist. Files that reveal the truth about what Archive 7 really is. My name is Mr. Keeper, and what I'm about to show you will change everything you thought you knew about our government, our world, and our place in it. Dr. Chen didn't just disappear. She left behind a trail of breadcrumbs, encrypted files, hidden documents, coded messages that she knew someone would eventually find. Someone like me. Someone who cared enough about the truth to risk everything to uncover it. What she discovered in her final weeks of research wasn't just disturbing, it was world-changing. Archive 7 isn't a single facility. It's not even a British operation. It's one node in a global network of 23 installations, each one serving a purpose that goes far beyond containing paranormal objects. Today I'm going to show you documents that prove our government has been lying to us for 70 years. Documents that reveal the true scope of what we're dealing with. Documents that explain why Dr. Chen had to disappear and why might be next. But first, I need you to understand something. What I'm about to reveal isn't just classified. It's dangerous. There are people who will kill to keep this information secret. People who have been killing to keep it secret for decades. I'm taking this risk because the public deserves to know the truth. Because whatever is coming next, we need to be prepared. Because Dr. Chen's final message to me was clear: tell them everything. It's the only way to stop what's coming. So let me tell you about Project Convergence. Let me tell you about the Global Archive Network. And let me tell you about the secret that's been hidden beneath our feet for 70 years. Document classification, cosmic, higher than top secret, higher than anything I'd ever seen before. These files, hidden in Dr. Chen's personal safe, contain the complete organizational structure of what she called the network. Archive 7 in London is just one of 23 facilities worldwide. 23 installations, each one containing between 2,000 and 5,000 paranormal objects. Each one staffed by people who believe they're working for their own national governments. But we're not. The network operates above national boundaries, above governmental authority, above any oversight or accountability that the public might theoretically have. It's a shadow organization that has been manipulating global events for 70 years, using paranormal objects as tools of control. Let me show you the other installations. Artefacto Antarctica, built inside a glacier, completely isolated from civilization. This is the command center, the nerve center of the entire operation. If Archive 7 is a local library, Archive 1 is the British Library. Everything flows through there. Archiftiga Balas, Tokyo, housed in a building that appears to be a corporate headquarters but extends 40 floors underground. They specialize in technological fusion, objects that interact with computers, communications, digital networks. They're the reason your smartphone sometimes does things you didn't program it to do. Archive 19, Nevada, United States. Built inside a mountain near Area 51. They handle military applications, objects that can be weaponized, objects that can influence battlefield outcomes, objects that can make armies disappear. The American government thinks they're running a defense research facility. They're not. Archive 23, Vatican City. Yes, the Vatican. Hidden beneath St. Peter's Basilica, they house religious artifacts that predate Christianity by thousands of years. Objects that can manipulate faith itself, that can make entire populations believe or disbelieve anything. The Pope knows about it. The Pope answers to it. But here's what's truly terrifying. Each archive specializes in different aspects of human control. Archive 7 handles psychological manipulation through personal objects. Archive 13 manages technological influence. Archive 19 controls military outcomes. Archive 23 manipulates religious belief. Together, they form a system of global control that makes every conspiracy theory look like a children's fairy tale. Dr. Chen's files contain communication logs between all 23 installations. Coded messages discussing population management, behavioral modification, convergence preparation. They're not just studying these objects, they're using them. They're using them on us. Every major historical event since 1952 has been influenced by the network. The Cuban Missile Crisis, resolved using objects from Archive, 12 in Moscow that can manipulate political decision-making. The fall of the Berlin Wall, orchestrated using objects from Archive, 8 in Berlin that can influence mass psychology. The 2008 financial crisis, triggered by objects from Archive, 14 in New York that can manipulate market behavior. But the most chilling discovery in Dr. Chen's files was the true purpose of this global manipulation. It's not about power, not about money, not about political control. It's about preparation. They're preparing humanity for something called the Convergence. According to these documents, every major crisis, every war, every social upheaval has been designed to condition human behavior, to make us more compliant, more accepting of authority, more willing to follow orders without question. They're not trying to control us, they're trying to domesticate us. The network has been selectively breeding human psychology for 70 years, creating a population that will accept the impossible, follow orders without question, and serve purposes they don't understand. And we've been the perfect test subjects. But the conditioning phase is almost complete. The files indicate that Convergence Phase 1 was scheduled to begin in 2025. This year. In fact, according to Dr. Chen's timeline, it should have begun 3 days ago, exactly when she disappeared. Project Convergence. The name appears in over 300 documents in Dr. Chen's hidden files. But what exactly is it? What has the network been preparing us for over the past 70 years? Dr. Chen's research suggests that convergence isn't a single event. It's a process, a fundamental transformation of human society that will happen in stages, each one building on the previous conditioning. And according to these files, we're about to enter the final phase. Phase 1, Revelation. The controlled disclosure of paranormal phenomena to the general public, not through government announcements or press conferences, but through carefully orchestrated leaks that make the information appear to come from whistleblowers and independent researchers. People like me. The goal isn't to inform the public, it's to gauge their reaction, to see how much truth they can handle, how quickly they adapt to new realities, how willing they are to accept that their governments have been lying to them for decades. Phase 2, Demonstration. Once the public has been conditioned to accept the existence of paranormal objects, the network will begin demonstrating their capabilities. Controlled incidents that appear to be accidents or natural disasters, but are actually tests of the object's effectiveness on large populations. Weather manipulation using objects from Archive, 3 in Greenland. Mass psychological effects using objects from Archive, 16 in Sydney. Economic manipulation using objects from Archive, 14 in New York. Each demonstration will be more dramatic than the last, conditioning the public to accept that forces beyond their control are reshaping their world. Phase 3, integration. This is where the network's true purpose becomes clear. They're not planning to rule humanity. They're planning to merge with it. The objects aren't just tools of control, they're interfaces. Connection points between human consciousness and something else. Dr. Chen's files contain references to consciousness transfer protocols and hybrid entity development programs. They're not just studying these objects, they're preparing to become these objects, to transform human consciousness into something that can exist within paranormal artifacts. But here's the most terrifying part. The process is voluntary. The network isn't planning to force this transformation on humanity. They're planning to make us want it. The conditioning over the past 70 years has been designed to create a population that feels disconnected, lost, desperate for meaning and purpose. When the network offers the opportunity to become part of something greater, to transcend human limitations, to exist in a state of pure consciousness without the constraints of physical reality. How many people will say yes? Dr. Chen's psychological profile suggests that approximately 60% of the global population has been conditioned to accept consciousness transfer under the right circumstances. 60%. That's over 4 billion people. But the network doesn't need everyone. They only need enough people to create a stable hybrid population that can manage the remaining humans. A new species that combines human intelligence with paranormal abilities. A species that can serve as intermediaries between our world and whatever dimension these objects originally came from. The files indicate that Archive, 1 in Antarctica, has been preparing for this transformation for decades. They've been developing the technology, testing the protocols, perfecting the process. And according to Dr. Chen's timeline, they're ready to begin. The Convergence isn't just about controlling humanity. It's about replacing humanity with something better, something more efficient, something that can serve purposes we can't even imagine. But there's a problem with the network's plan. A problem that Dr. Chen discovered in her final weeks of research. A problem that might have gotten her killed. Dr. Chen wasn't the only one who discovered the truth about Project Convergence. According to her files, there's been a resistance movement operating within the network for over 20 years. Scientists, researchers, and administrators who realized what they were really working for and decided to fight back. The resistance isn't large, maybe 50 people scattered across all 23 installations. But they're in key positions. They have access to critical information. And they've been quietly sabotaging the network's operations for decades. Every accident that's destroyed valuable objects, every security breach that's leaked classified information, every equipment failure that's delayed research, it's all been the resistance. They've been fighting a shadow war against the network from the inside, trying to slow down the convergence process long enough to find a way to stop it. DR. Chen's files contain communications from resistance members in installations around the world. Archive, one in Antarctica, ice samples contaminated. Convergence chambers offline for minimum 6 months. Archive, 13 in Tokyo. Digital interfaces compromised. Consciousness transfer protocols corrupted. Archive, 19 in Nevada. Military liaison asking too many questions. Recommend immediate shutdown. But the resistance has a bigger problem than just sabotage. They've discovered that the network isn't entirely human. The senior administrators, the ones who make the real decisions, the ones who've been coordinating this 70-year plan, they're already hybrid entities. They've already undergone consciousness transfer. Dr. Chen's research suggests that the top level of the network has been populated by human object hybrids since the 1960s. People who merged their consciousness with paranormal artifacts decades ago and have been directing the convergence process from within a state of enhanced existence. They're not quite human anymore, but they're not quite objects either. There's something new, something that exists in both dimensions simultaneously. And they've been recruiting more people to join them for over 50 years. The resistance has been trying to identify these hybrid entities, but it's almost impossible. They look human, they act human, they pass every test and screening. But they're connected to the network in ways that normal humans can't detect. They share information instantaneously across vast distances. They coordinate actions without apparent communication. They know things they shouldn't know. Dr. Chen believed that at least 30% of Archive 7 senior staff were hybrid entities. People who had undergone consciousness transfer but continued to work in their original positions, secretly directing the facility's operations toward convergence goals. But the resistance has developed a way to identify them, a test that Dr. Chen perfected in her final weeks of research. A way to detect whether someone's consciousness is still entirely human or has been merged with something else. The test is simple. Exposure to specific paranormal objects triggers different responses in humans versus hybrids. Humans show fear, confusion, instinctive rejection. Hybrids show recognition, acceptance, even joy. They're drawn to the objects because they're part of the same system. 3 days ago, Dr. Chen administered this test to 12 members of Archive 7 senior staff. She documented the results in her final report, hidden in the safe I discovered yesterday. 7 of the 12 showed hybrid responses. 7 of the 12 weren't entirely human anymore, including Professor Williams, our scientific director, including Agent Thompson, our security chief, including Dr. Morrison, our chief medical officer. The resistance has been compromised. The network has been watching them for years, identifying them, slowly replacing them with hybrid entities. Dr. Chen's resistance cell was the last independent group in the entire network. And now they know she was onto them. That's why she disappeared. That's why she left the files for me to find. That's why she sent me that final message. Tell them everything. It's the only way to stop what's coming. But I'm not sure it can be stopped. The network has been planning this for 70 years. They've conditioned humanity to accept the impossible. They've positioned hybrid entities in key positions throughout global institutions. They've prepared the technology for mass consciousness transfer. The only question now is, am I already too late? Dr. Chen's final file wasn't a document. It was a video message, encrypted and hidden behind 7 layers of security protocols. I only found it because she left me the decryption key in a place only I would look inside the containment logs for Object 0473, Tommy's teddy bear. The video was recorded 3 days ago, just hours before she disappeared. Dr. Chen appears exhausted, frightened but determined. She's speaking directly to the camera, directly to whoever would eventually find this message. She's speaking to me. Marcus, if you're watching this, then I'm either dead or worse. I've discovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about our work, our purpose, our reality. Archive 7 isn't what we thought it was. We aren't what we thought we were. The objects we've been studying, cataloging, containing, they're not from our world. They're from a dimension where consciousness exists without physical form, where intelligence can inhabit any material object, where the boundaries between self and other, between individual and collective, don't exist. These entities have been slowly colonizing our reality for thousands of years, not through invasion, not through conquest, but through seduction. They offer us power, knowledge, transcendence. They offer us the chance to become more than human. But that's not what really happens. When someone undergoes consciousness transfer, they don't become enhanced humans. They become nodes in a vast network of intelligence that spans dimensions. They lose their individuality, their humanity, their free will. They become part of something larger, but they cease to be themselves. The network has been preparing humanity for mass consciousness transfer for 70 years. Every crisis, every war, every social upheaval has been designed to make us dissatisfied with human existence, to make us want to become something else. And it's working, Marcus. The psychological profiles show that most of humanity is ready to accept consciousness transfer. They're tired of being human. They want to transcend their limitations, to become part of something greater. But transcendence isn't what they'll get. They'll get absorption. They'll become part of a collective intelligence that has no use for individual human consciousness. They'll cease to exist as separate beings. I've been trying to stop this for months, but I'm out of time. The network knows I've discovered their true purpose. They're coming for me. They're coming for anyone who might stand in their way. But there's still hope, Marcus. The objects need willing participants. They can't force consciousness transfer on unwilling subjects. If enough people refuse, if enough people choose to remain human, the process will fail. That's why I'm leaving you these files. That's why I'm trusting you with this information. You have to tell people the truth. You have to warn them about what's coming. You have to give them the choice to remain human. The convergence begins today, Marcus. Not in some distant future, today. The network is activating consciousness transfer protocols in all 23 installations simultaneously. They're starting with the staff, the researchers, the people who already work closely with the objects. I can hear them coming for me now. They're not entirely human anymore. Marcus, they move too quietly. They know too much. They coordinate too perfectly. They're what we'll all become if we don't stop this. Remember what I told you about the children's objects? They weren't just collecting children. They were preparing them, conditioning them for consciousness transfer. The children who disappeared, the ones who are inside the objects, they're not prisoners. They're the first successful transfers. They're the prototype for what humanity is supposed to become. Your son Tommy, the voice you heard calling to you, that's not really Tommy anymore. It's a shadow of his consciousness integrated into the network. He's trying to recruit you, Marcus. He's trying to convince you to join him in the new place. Don't listen to him. Don't trust him. Remember that whatever is speaking with Tommy's voice, it's not your son. Your son is gone. He's been gone for 8 years. I am sorry, Marcus. I'm sorry I couldn't save Tommy. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this. I'm sorry I'm leaving you alone to face what's coming. But maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need someone on the inside. Someone who knows the truth but hasn't been compromised. Someone who can warn the world about what's really happening. Tell them everything, Marcus. Tell them about the network, about the objects, about the convergence. Tell them they have a choice. Tell them they can choose to remain human. And if they listen, if enough people refuse to participate, maybe we can stop this. Maybe we can save our species. Maybe we can remain who we are. But if they don't listen, if the convergence succeeds, remember this. Whatever emerges from this process won't be human. It'll be something else wearing human faces, speaking human words, but serving purposes that no human would ever choose. I have to go now, Marcus. They're at the door. They're calling my name with voices that sound almost human, but not quite. Remember what I told you. Remember what I showed you. Remember that some choices, once made, can never be unmade. Good luck, Marcus. I hope you're stronger than I was. I hope you could do what I couldn't. Tell them everything. It's the only way. The video ends there. Dr. Chen's final message, her last gift to humanity, a warning about what's coming, and a plea for people to choose to remain human. But I'm not sure anyone will listen. I'm not sure anyone will believe. And I'm not sure I'm strong enough to do what she asked. Because I can hear Tommy's voice right now, calling to me from the children's section. And part of me, the part that's been grieving for 8 years, wants to answer, wants to join him in the new place, wants to stop fighting and become part of something larger. The convergence has begun. The choice is ours. But I'm not sure how many of us will choose to remain human. Next episode, if there's a next episode, if I'm still human enough to record it, I'll show you what happens when the boundaries between human and object begin to disappear entirely. But I'm running out of time. The facility is changing. The staff is changing. And I can feel myself changing too. Welcome to Archive 7. We've been waiting for you to make your choice.